Venice is one of the most iconic cities in the world, but it also has a reputation for being one of the most expensive. In this video, we'll show you what it really cost us to spend 15 days here as slow travelers. This was the final stop in our 79-day Italy journey, starting in Sicily, then moving on to Sorrento and Florence, before ending in Venice. We'll share what we spent on transportation, housing, food, and daily life, plus what it's like to experience Venice at a slower pace as retirement travelers. At the end, we'll give you the full budget breakdown with our total costs and share our honest take on what it's like spending 2 weeks in Venice. If you're new here, we're two traveling after one, a couple of empty nesters on a mission to explore the world and share all the tips we pick up along the way. Like and subscribe to our channel for everything slow and nomadic travel, practical tips, destination guides, and in-depth information to help you plan your next adventure. After 79 days of slow travel in Italy, we ended our journey in Venice. We had already lived in Sicily, relaxed in Sorrento on the Amalfi Coast, and soaked up Florence. Venice was our grand finale. Instead of rushing through in the few quick days, we gave ourselves 15 days. We wanted to walk the neighborhoods, explore the islands, cook some meals at home, and discover what retirement travel in Venice really costs. Let's talk about money. In Venice, like the rest of Italy, we were able to use our credit cards almost everywhere. Restaurants, grocery stores, transportation tickets, and even smaller shops all accepted cards. We kept some small bills and coins handy for tips and the occasional church entry fee, but otherwise we relied almost completely on cards. That made things easy, especially since we didn't want to carry a lot of cash, and we always liked to use our cards to accumulate points for travel. Another important thing to know is the new Venice tourist tax. When we were there, it had just been introduced. We didn't have to pay it separately because our overnight stay had already included it as part of our accommodation. But if you're only visiting for the day or not staying overnight, you'll need to pay this tax. Our host sent us a link to a form where we filled out our details and we got a QR code to show if needed. We did see people being asked for it, and although we were never stopped ourselves. We'll link to our blog below with the full details and resources that you'll need. Getting to Venice was easy, but it started with a little splurge. It was pouring rain in Florence, and instead of walking with our luggage or trying to navigate public transportation, we grabbed a cab from our apartment to the train station. That ride cost us $28.66, and honestly, it was worth every penny to stay dry. From there, we took the Frecciarossa high-speed train to Venice. The ride was just over 2 hours in comfortable leather seats with Wi-Fi and even a snack box. Our tickets from Florence cost $79.59 for the two of us. When we arrived, it couldn't have been more straightforward. We walked out of the train station, crossed the street, and there was the ticket booth and a Vaporetto stop that would take us directly to Murano, where we were staying. For transportation within Venice, we each bought 2 Vaporetto passes. Each pass was good for 7 days of unlimited rides, and the cost per pass was $140 for the two of us. With 2 passes each, that gave us unlimited access to our full 15 days in Venice. This turned out to be the most affordable way to get around. If you're staying on one of the islands like Murano, a pass is essential, but otherwise the rides can add up quickly. And while the boats are punctual, they can be crowded, so always plan extra time when you're traveling between the neighborhoods or out to Burano or Lido. Altogether, our transportation cost for Venice came to $389.13. This turned out to be the most affordable way to get around. Our Airbnb in Murano was one of our favorites in Italy. It was modern, with a comfy bed, a great bathroom, a full kitchen, and even a Coop grocery store just 3 doors down. We had booked 10 months in advance because Venice accommodations can be pricey. Funny story though, our original booking was canceled about 2 months before our trip when the host sold the apartment. After a long back and forth and no results out of Booking.com, we ended up rebooking on Airbnb in Murano. It was more expensive than what we had originally planned, but it turned out to be a gem. The downside was the Wi-Fi. Our phones wouldn't back up our photos at night, and we started having issues. We ended up buying a SIM and using our portable router as a hotspot for all our devices. To their credit, our host reimbursed us for the SIM and the data cost. We also discovered the Hyatt on Murano. Their lounge had a reliable Wi-Fi, and as rewards members, we were able to sit, upload files, and even grab a drink. Murano itself was quiet with just 3,000 residents. During the day, it was touristy with all the glass shops, but at night, it felt like a small town. Few restaurants, and they rotated which ones were open. And if you're looking for peace and quiet away from the crowds of Venice, Murano's a great option. Housing was by far our biggest expense. For 15 nights, our Airbnb came to $2,064.94, which works out to about $147.49 per night. In Venice, we quickly realized that food was going to be a little different from the rest of our Italy trip. After the incredible meals we had in Sicily and Florence, Venice honestly felt a little bit disappointing when it came to restaurants. There were a few exceptions, but overall, we were happier cooking at home. We settled into a rhythm of eating out once a day, usually lunch or dinner, and cooking the rest of our meals in our apartment. That balance helped us keep costs under control and made our meals feel more special when we did go out. Our favorite was Navodi in the Castello neighborhood. Dinner for the two of us was around $70, and it was so good we went back a second time. Between the ravioli, the spritzes, the seared tuna, octopus, shrimp with polenta, gnocchi, fresh vegetables, and of course gelato, it was one of the highlights of our trip. The most expensive dinner we had was a canal-side meal at I Piantaleone on Murano, which came to $130. Another higher-end night was at Hyatt's Osteria restaurant, also on Murano, and that dinner cost about $114. Not everything was a splurge, though. The corner pub in Dorsoduro was a casual stop for sandwiches and drinks that cost about $30. Ombre y Cicchetti de Pinto was another great place for wine and cicchetti, also around $30. Bistro 3.0 on Murano was $50 for a spritz, cicchetti, and some small plates. Aperdato, another pizza spot on Murano, came in at $30, and our day trip to Burano, lunch at Allion Cornontato, was $40 for pizza, spaghetti, and beer. And then there was Fried Land, a little walk-up takeaway window where we had calamari and pasta in cardboard boxes. Not only was it fun and affordable, it was also a reminder to guard your food because the birds are always waiting for a chance. Altogether, eating out in Venice for 15 days cost us $754.23. Groceries are an important part of our Venice budget, especially since we decided to only eat out once a day. Our apartment in Murano was a perfect spot with a Coop grocery store just 3 doors down. Most mornings started at Mikado Bakery in Murano. Fresh pastries, warm bread, and a quick hello to the same staff made it feel like our neighborhood spot. Having a kitchen made it easy to prepare breakfasts and most lunches at home, and a few simple dinners when we didn't feel like heading back out. In total, we spent $228.91 on groceries during our 15 nights in Venice. Not only did it save us money, but it also gave us the flexibility to balance cooking at home with eating out when we wanted to. One of the best parts of our 2 weeks in Venice was exploring the different neighborhoods or islands every day. The canals, the bridges, and the architecture really do live up to the postcards, and with a little extra time, we were able to discover both the highlights and the hidden corners. We started in St. Mark's Square, where we toured the Basilica San Marco, the Doge's Palace, the St. Mark's Bell, and we stopped to admire the Bridge of Sighs and enjoyed walking through the royal gardens. Right in the square is the Florian Tea Room, a cafe that's been serving guests since the 1700s, and nearby we walked past Harry's Bar, which is the birthplace of the Bellini. Just a few minutes from St. Mark's is the Scala Cantonare del Bovolo, a hidden spiral staircase tucked off Campo Manon. We paid €9 to climb it, and the rooftop views over Venice were worth the calves. If you're near the Riva, pop into the Metropole Hotel. The interiors and little collections make it a quick but beautiful walkthrough. In San Polo, we visited the Rialto Bridge and the fish market. Here's a tip: if you cross the bridge and head to the right toward the canal, you'll find a quieter spot that's usually empty and a perfect spot for taking photos with the bridge in the background. We didn't take any of the traditional gondola rides, which cost around €90 for a standard tour, but here's a money-saving tip. If you want the experience of sitting in a gondola, locals use what's called a traghetto to cross the Grand Canal. The ride only lasts a minute or two, but it's only €2 per person, and you still get the gondola feel without the big price tag. Nearby, we visited San Zaccaria Church, which costs €3.50 to enter, or it's included in the €28 church pass. And we stopped at Tragicomica, a traditional Venetian mask shop where you can see the craftsmanship that goes into these iconic pieces. In Dorsoduro, we admired the ceiling of the Church of the San Pantalone, which holds the world's largest oil painting on canvas. This neighborhood is also full of cute artisan shops and smaller restaurants that are fun to stumble across. One unique stop here is the Squero di San Travasa, which is a 17th century gondola boatyard that's still in use today. You can't tour inside, but you can watch from across the canal as the gondolas are built and repaired in the traditional way. And at the very tip of the peninsula sits the Basilica di Santa Maria della Salute, with its massive white dome that has become one of the symbols of Venice. The Castello neighborhood was another favorite. We visited Liberia Acqua Alta, a quirky bookstore where the back door opens onto the canal and the books are stacked in gondolas and bathtubs to protect them from flooding. In Castello, Via Giuseppe Garibaldi felt local with a long promenade, shade trees, and a park where you could catch your breath away from the crowds. We also spent time in the Viale Garibaldi Gardens, then wandered through Marianessa Park to see the outdoor sculptures. It was a calm break from the busy lanes. We also spent 2 full days at the Venice Biennale, the international art exhibition that takes over the city every 2 years. Tickets were €30 each. The Biennale was unforgettable, part art exhibit, part scavenger hunt, and spread across historic places and official grounds at the Arsenal. In Cannaregio, we walked through the historic Jewish ghetto, visited kosher shops, and stepped inside Teatro Italia, a theater that's now a grocery store. We were also lucky enough to get to the rooftop of the Fondaco dei Tedeschi, a department store which offers incredible views of the Rialto Bridge and the Grand Canal from its rooftop, but unfortunately it closed in 2025. We took a Vaporetto to Burano, famous for its colorful houses, lace museum, and little artisan shops. We wandered the canals, soaking in the colorful neighborhoods and shops. We bought a few soaps in a small bag and stopped for pizza, spaghetti, and beer at Alion Corantado for about $40. Another day trip was to Lido, which felt like a completely different world from Venice. It's more like a beach town with a main street lined with shops and restaurants that leads to the water. There are private beach clubs where you can rent loungers and get food and drinks, but we walked down to the public beach access and enjoyed it for free. Before heading back, we stopped for a glass of wine at a shop near the Vaporetto. Murano was our home base, so we spent plenty of time wandering its canals, visiting glass factories, and exploring the church of Santa Maria e San Donato, known for its beautiful mosaic floors. One of the Vaporetto stops was the San Michele Cemetery on the way to and from Murano. Built in the 1800s, it's the burial site of Ezra Pound and Igor Stravinsky. And then there were the moments that you can't plan for. One night after dinner, we walked into Venice's famous Acqua Alta, or flooding. The water was almost knee-deep, and after 2 Vaporetto boats refused to let us board, we had to walk across the island to another stop, and by the time we made it back to Murano, we were exhausted and went straight into long hot showers. It wasn't glamorous, but it was unforgettable. Altogether, our entertainment costs came to $83.69. That included Biennale tickets and other church entry fees. Everything else, the neighborhoods, the views, the wandering, and even the surprises like flooding, was free. Shopping in Venice was a little different for us because it wasn't just about souvenirs. For me, it was also personal. Years ago, Dan had bought me a silver Tiffany's band, and somewhere along the way, as we cleaned out and prepared for our nomadic life, I lost it. I had hoped it would turn up, but it never did. Since this was our 25th wedding anniversary year, Dan wanted to replace it. So one of our stops in Venice was Tiffany's, where I slipped my new ring on my finger. It felt like a full circle moment, and it's a memory I'll carry with me every time I look at my hand. Not all of our shopping was that sentimental or expensive. On Burano, we wandered into a little soap shop called Officina del Sapone. I picked up a couple of handmade soaps and a small bag to organize my cords. Over time, I've collected little bags like this from different places around the world. They're practical, and every time I use them, I'm reminded of where they came from. Of course, we browsed plenty of glass shops in Murano and lace shops in Burano, even if most of the time we were just window shopping. Altogether, our shopping costs in Venice came to $407.98. Venice also ended up being the place where I finally broke down and bought reading glasses. I'd been getting by with my prescription pair that I use at home on the computer or when reading on my Kindle, but I didn't have a pair that I felt comfortable wearing out in public or carrying around with me. With all the cool Italian glass shops here, I figured this was the perfect place to pick out a pair. Now I can actually read menus in restaurants without squinting, and I finally have a pair of readers that I don't mind wearing when we're out and about. It was a small purchase, just $53.79, but it's one of those little quality of life upgrades that makes life and travel easier. Phone and Wi Fi in Venice were a bit of a challenge. Our Airbnb's Wi Fi barely worked, photos wouldn't back up at night, and we had trouble staying connected. We still had days left on our Airlaus eSIM plans, so we used those for our phones, but for the apartment, we needed something more stable. We ended up buying an additional SIM card and putting it into our portable router, using that as a hotspot for all of our devices. The extra plan cost us $20.43, but our Airbnb host reimbursed us. We also discovered that the Hyatt on Murano, about a block down from us, had reliable Wi Fi, and as rewards members, we were able to sit in the lounge, upload files, and enjoy a drink. So, what did 2 weeks in Venice really cost us? Let's take a look at the totals, category by category. Transportation came in at $389.13. That included our taxi in Florence, the high-speed train to Venice, and the Vaporetto passes that gave us unlimited rides for the full 15 days. Housing was by far our biggest expense at $2,064.94. That worked out to about $147 a night for our modern apartment in Murano. Food and drink was $754.23. We ate out once a day and cooked the rest at home, which helped us balance out a few splurges like Nivoti with more affordable meals and takeaways. Groceries added another $228.91. Shopping at the Coop just a few doors down made it easy to stock up and cook simple meals. Entertainment cost us just $83.69. That covered our Biennale tickets and church entries. The rest, from wandering the neighborhoods to day trips to Burano and Lido, was free. Shopping totaled $407.98, and that included my new cord bag, handmade soaps in Burano, and the most personal purchase, replacing my Tiffany's ring for our 25th anniversary. Health and wellness was $53.79 for a stylish new pair of Italian reading glasses, so I can finally read menus without squinting. Phone and Wi-Fi came to $20.43 for the extra SIM we used in our portable router after our Airbnb Wi-Fi failed. When you add it all up, our total for 15 days in Venice came to $4,003.10. That's $266.87 per day for the both of us, or $133.44 per person per day. Venice gave us beauty, history, and endless things to explore, but it also reminded us of the costs of over-tourism. It truly is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. The canals, the bridges, the architecture. It is unlike anywhere else. It is incredibly walkable, and when you do not feel like walking, the Vaporetto makes getting around easy. Between the Biennale, the churches, and the day trips to Burano and Lido, and simply wandering the neighborhoods, we never ran out of things to do. The weather in early May was perfect, and having 2 full weeks gave us the time to wander slowly, to soak it all in, and to see Venice at more than just a postcard level. But would we go back? Probably not. Tourism has definitely taken its toll. It was crowded, even in shoulder season, and very expensive. Could you do Venice in less time? Absolutely. But for us, this was the finale of our 79 days in Italy, and we wanted to spend time to experience everything at a slower pace. We also find it fascinating to explore places that are considered tourist hotspots and look for the community that's still there, and sometimes is not. Having lived in a vacation destination ourselves, we know the rhythms of the seasons, and we like to stay long enough to see what lies below the surface. So our honest take is this. Venice is unforgettable, but it comes with trade-offs. For us, it was worth it as a finale to our Italian adventure, but we can see why some travelers might skip it altogether or spend just a few days before moving on. Thanks for joining us for our slow travel budget breakdown of Venice, the final stop in our 79 days in Italy. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out our other budget breakdowns from our time in Sicily, Sorrento, and Florence. We'll link those in the description and at the end of this video. We've also put together a detailed blog post with maps of everywhere we stayed, ate, and explored here in Venice, plus tips on things like the new tourist tax and using the Vaporetto. You'll find the link in the description. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell so that you'll know when our next slow travel budget breakdown comes out. We're Megan and Dan, two traveling after one, sharing the real costs, experiences, and lessons of retirement travel and slow travel around the world. Thanks for watching, and happy travels!